Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA Veteran Micah Miller. Micah, how are you?
Doing good, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for doing it. Micah, you recently picked up a win back on May 4th at Roctagon MMA 26. You defeated Tyler Combs by knockout. How pleased were you with your performance in the fight?
I'm pretty pleased. It was, I got a finish, so that's what I'm always looking to do. I was trying to finish in the first round by submission, but I just couldn't quite close that arm triangle off tight enough. And I think after that, I kind of settled down a little bit and took my time, and the finish eventually just came. I didn't try to force it, so I'm pretty pleased all around. I felt good at the new weight, and everything went well.
Mm-hmm. What kind of letter grade would you give yourself for this performance?
I wouldn't. A W. How about that?
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one. So, talk me through the finish there, because I've seen it filmed off a big screen on a cell phone camera, so I haven't seen high quality HD footage of the film. But talk me through the finish there, because it looked like you were able to pull his head down as you're bringing the knee up with one hand. And where exactly did that knee land? Because it looked like it landed around the eye socket of the temple, not the chin. Could you talk me through the finish?
Yeah, he's left-handed, and he threw a straight left and was kind of like, he's given up a lot of reach, so he was kind of falling forward a little bit to try and hit me, and I just slipped it, and he was kind of ducking out with his head low. I think he was a little tired because it was the third round. He got a little lazy, and I just grabbed the back of his head and just saw an opportunity to do what I do every day, and I need him, I think, in the eye socket, felt like, and as soon as he went flying back, I knew that it felt like a home run when I need him. Mm-hmm. And I knew it was done, and he was out. Like, I could see his eyes roll back, and the ref, I think, just let it go on for a little bit, so I just, finished it off, and they stopped it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, this was your first win since December of 2010 when you defeated Isaac DeJesus. How does it feel to be back in the winner's circle again?
It's good. It's a little overdue, I think, but it's good. I've had a lot of fights kind of fall through, and fortunately, some things happened that were out of my control to kind of push some of these fights back, but it feels great to fight again, to win again. It feels normal. It feels like what should happen after all this hard work. So hopefully, got to keep it going here this Saturday.
Mm-hmm. You hadn't had a win for a long time, and this fight, it was a pretty important fight for you. New weight class. You were fighting a guy who, let's face it, you're clearly better than him. Skill wise, you fought better competition than him. After that fight, was there a sense of relief that you were able to get past this and get back into the win column, or did you take it, just as a regular fight? Take it, celebrate the way you would do after any normal fight, or was there a little bit more relief to this now that you're back in the winner's circle and now you can just move forward? Because a loss there, I don't know what happens.
Yeah, I don't feel like this one was any different. Like, mm-hmm. I enjoy the process. Like, this is what I like doing. So, just getting ready for a fight and not actually having the fight go through the way it should was nice. The promotion was good. They treated me well, and I didn't have any real problems during my training camp. So everything just went smooth, and this is what I like to do. So it felt good to be in there and be fighting against other people, and have it streamed online and get my hands taped. I just enjoy the process. It's enjoyable for me.
Mm-hmm. This Saturday night at Hoosier Fight Club 15, you're going to be taking on Josh Shockley. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
I don't know a whole lot about Josh Shockley. I didn't really do any film study on my last guy, and I haven't really done any on him either. But I looked him up. He seems like an up and comer. seems to have some submission skills on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably where his wrestling and his grappling ability seems to be a stronger point.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you mentioned that you really don't know too much about him, even though this is the second time that you're going to be preparing to fight him, because you were supposed to fight him back in April. Do you know him a little bit better now that you've had 2 times to prepare for him?
I mean, I prepared for him a certain way when we were supposed to fight, and then when the fight fell through, it just seemed like when I just, I guess, picked it up right after this fight that I just had. Like, I just kind of picked up where I left off with that preparation for the fight, if that makes any sense. So, I don't know, I prepared a certain way, and then the fight got pushed back, but I just picked it right back up, and, I've had a lot of time to get ready to do what I'm going to do, so, I'm ready to get this one done in the books.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that with some of your fights falling through, that you should have been more active, and this Josh Shockley fight was supposed to happen in April. It didn't happen because he got injured, and it was too late in the game to bring in a late replacement opponent. So, and you've had injuries, and you've had opponents that have weighed in, everything was fine, fights on, and then get sick and not be able to fight. At this point, do you kind of just hold your breath and hope everything goes okay, because you've had all these fights that were supposed to happen, and then at the last second the guy bails on you? At this point, do you kind of just knock on wood and hope it happens?
Yeah, it seems that way. I've just been around for a little while, and I know kind of how the game is, and that some of these things that happened in the past couple of years were kind of new, were new, and it kind of even shocked me a little bit. But I'm never. I expect the worst and hope for the best when it comes to this fight game stuff.
Mm-hmm. Recently, you were doing some training in Georgia at the Hardcore Gym. Was this to prepare for this Josh Shockley fight, or were you brought in to mimic George Roop and help Brian Bowles get ready for that fight?
Yeah, I was just brought in for that. I'm really close with the staff out there and all the guys and the fighters out there. I spent a year there when I was about 19 years old, 20 years old, and I lived in Athens, and I trained there. That was my home, so I'm still really close with a lot of the guys there. And anytime that I can have an excuse to go there, I don't need a very big one, and I'll always go back and visit those guys. And if I can help, that's even better.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you're helping someone prepare for another fight, how does that work? Do you stay in a hotel? Do you stay at Brian Bowles' house? How does that all work with you going up there?
I mean, like I said, I've lived there before, and I have a lot of friends there. So finding a place to stay isn't really a problem.
Mm-hmm. Now, payment-wise, do you receive any payment? Do they pay, for your travel? Do they pay you, like a fee for coming out there to help, or you just go there for the experience because you know those guys? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I've received payment before, but and sometimes I don't. I'm glad to do it. I don't need any payment. Going there is, it's fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I received a little payment when I helped him from Miguel Torres. I spent a lot of time out there for that fight. So it just really depends. Like I said, I'm glad to do it for free. It's not something that I'm trying to charge people for.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Now, are you a full-time fighter, or do you have a second job?
Yeah, I'm full-time.
Mm-hmm.
I train. I do personal training on the side too, and I'll do some martial arts instruction as well. But I guess those aren't really full-time jobs; these are part-time. So I put most of my focus and effort into this training that goes on.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're fighting at 155. Why did you decide to make the move from featherweight to lightweight?
I just felt like I couldn't win a world championship at 145, and I was just I was staying the same weight that I was when I was fighting at when I was fighting when I was 17, 18 years old, and I'm 26 now, and I got to sit back and reflect on that. I was like, there's a problem with this, I've been fighting for so long and so often that I never really sat back and got a chance to really grow into a man's body. I don't feel like so. I'm trying to go up and feel more comfortable, and I do, and I feel like it was a great decision, and I'm not done.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard that you have plans of going even higher than 155. I heard plans that you had about going to 170. Is that still the plan, or right now you're just going to kind of test the waters at 155 and see where that takes you?
Yeah, I'm testing. I guess I kind of am testing them, but I really feel like I'll keep going and end up at 170. I just like the way I feel when I was getting bigger, and when I have more muscle on me, like things were just easier for me. I already have so much technique, and I feel like when I add strength to that, I feel like I'm pretty dangerous. So, I tested it out, and I got pretty big. I got up to about 183, and I felt pretty good. And I felt like I wanted to keep going. So, we'll see. I'm gonna do a few fights, see where that goes, and I might end up trying to put a little more muscle on this holiday season.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing right now to build size? Are you just not being too strict on the diet? Is it just your body is changing and you're just going with the changes? You're not fighting it, having to drop the weight, or are you doing some sort of special diet to pack on that size?
Yeah, I mean, my strength and conditioning coach at IHP, JC Santana, has me on a program that's specialized to build muscle and put on mass. And as far as the diet game goes, I have that down pretty well. I'm very good with my diet and everything, and it's not really not a whole lot has changed, I guess, except for more. I'm eating when I'm bigger, I'm eating a lot more food, and a lot of the same things. Some adding a few different things. There's no real calorie restriction with any of that, but it's just a lot more food because I'm trying to do this the natural way. So I'm gonna have to eat a ton of food to be able to support the kind of muscle growth that I'm looking to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's been a lot of fighters who say, they've been cutting weight for a long time and they can't make the weight class anymore, so they go to a weight class above theirs, and then they find out when they get to that weight class higher than the one that they were fighting at, the guys are so much bigger than them, and they eventually go back down a weight class. Why is that? Why is it so hard for fighters to pack on weight? It seems like it's always easier to go down a weight class, but to go up and to be at the size that these other guys who are big for that weight class are, it seems difficult. Why do you think that is? Is it just the nature of the training and burning calories, and that's why it's hard to pack on size? What do you think is the reason why we don't see that many guys when they move up a weight class feel that they are the same size as the big guys in the weight class, whatever weight that is?
Yeah, it's hard with just the nature of the training. You train so hard that you just burn so many calories, and the training is so cardio intensive to get ready for a fight that keeping size on can be hard for some people. Like I know it was for me recently, just with I got my biggest was at 183 when I was doing this, and once I kind of switch phases into MMA training and kind of getting ready for a fight, the weight is just really hard to hold on to. Just one, because it's so cardio intensive, but two, for me, like specifically, my metabolism is really, really fast, so it's even harder to keep the weight on. So I eventually settled to a place where I was comfortable with fighting, at 55, but it got pretty tough. I definitely had to eat a lot more and eat differently than I do, when I was making 145. So it was kind of a new experience.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that, 145, you were kind of at a standstill. You were fighting there for so long, and you weren't seeing, the progression of getting better and better, and you kind of, I guess, you hit your peak at that weight class, I guess you could say. When you were fighting for Dream, you fought below 145. You fought at 139. Was there ever a thought of maybe possibly going down in weight, or is that just, completely out of the question? You're just way too big for 135.
I mean, I think George Root proves that you're not. I guess you're never too big for 135.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I guess I thought about it, but the dieting that I underwent for Dream was just so grueling. Like 145 was already hard, and when I accepted to do that, I didn't even know if I could make the weight. Like it was just like fighting in a Grand Prix was my all-time goal, and when the offer was there, I just couldn't say no to it. I had to do my best, and I did my absolute best for 8 weeks and cut down, and I made the weight. I did everything the right way, but that's what it took. It took the dieting was just so extreme that it's not something that I could undergo for very long. It was just for that shot at a Grand Prix and fight for a world championship, like that was I guess that made the juice worth the squeeze.
Mm-hmm. Now, your last two fights, well, actually, this fight and the last fight you just had against Tyler Combs have both been in the Midwest. The last fight was in Ohio. This fight against Josh Shockley is going to be in Indiana. So you've been fighting around the Midwest recently. But there's a lot of good regional shows in Florida where you're based out of. XFC, which you fought for them in the past and did well for them. CFA. They're on Access TV now. They're doing some good things. And in Fight Time, Howard Davis's show, they're also down in Florida. Are those organizations a possibility? Have there been any contact with them?
I don't really like the way CFA does business, and I think as far as me fighting for them, you never say never, but I just don't see that happening. I guess Howard Davis's show, Howard Davis used to be my boxing coach.
Right,
we have a good relationship, and he's reached out to me a couple times, and I reached out to him, but it just seemed like with our schedules, the timing for our shows just never seemed to be right. And as far as XFC goes, I don't know what happened with our relationship. I feel like last time I was there, I headlined their show, and I feel like I did a great job. And, I won by knockout in the first round and kind of wiped out one of the better guys. So, as far as the return goes, I don't know why that was never talked about. They reached out to me, I think, earlier this year, but we talked about maybe possibly coming back. But, again, there was no follow-up when I reached out to them. So, you got to find work where you can, and that's why I started talking to my old manager in my camp. And he has good contacts in the Midwest, and he put me to work right away, and I got to work with a good promotion in Octagon. So you got to get in where you can fit in here.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned you didn't like the way CFA, you didn't like their business practices. Care to elaborate? What's going on there?
I don't, not really. There's been some interactions with some of my teammates that they've had that they haven't ethically handled some of them. And I signed to fight Luis Palomino on one of the shows, and they come back and say that he says that he can't make weight in 8 weeks at 145 when he's a 145 champion, and they're not going to give me another fight, even though I signed a contract to fight for them. So I thought that wasn't a good thing to do, and I just don't really have a desire, I guess, to fight for those guys.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, XFC, Nick Newell, he was their champion. He vacated the title. He left. So Scott Holtzman, he's left without an opponent. That's a 155er. I thought, your phone would be ringing. Maybe it still will, but, the fight's a couple weeks away. Wagner Rocha,
they have my phone number.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, Wagner Rocha, he's the lightweight champion of Fight Time. That's another good fight for you. He's a UFC vet. That would be a good fight. So who knows? Maybe in this next couple weeks, something will come up.
Yeah, these are all fights I'm interested in.
Yep.
So I feel like I'm a name that could put on a good fight with any of these guys. So I'm open to it, and they have my number. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, Micah, is the goal for you to get in the UFC? Is that the plan here? You know, just fight some local shows, get some wins, and go to the UFC. Is that the goal?
Yeah, I think that's the goal for any fighter that's trying to really do this. You know, some people say they are, but they're really not.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't just want to get in the UFC. My goals are higher than that. But you got to start there. So the UFC is the shot to make real money. So I think that's really where my eyes are set. You know, I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth from the Ultimate Fighter show, and I definitely didn't get my best performance out there for that. So I feel like there's some wrongs to right in that organization.
Mm-hmm. You're obviously on the UFC's radar. You mentioned the brief stint on The Ultimate Fighter. Your brother Cole, he fights for UFC. You're obviously on their radar. You know, how close do you think you are to getting a call? Are you 2 wins, 3 wins away? You know, I would assume if you keep knocking guys out the way you knocked out Tyler Combs, your phone should be ringing.
Yeah, you would assume that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think the way if things keep going the way that I see them, you know, and I can stay active and keep getting wins and finishes like I usually do, then I don't see any reason why I couldn't be in the UFC in 2013 or 2014. Sorry. Yeah.
How important? Just give me an idea of how important it is for you to be in the UFC. Is it like UFC or bust for you, or are you open to, let's say, Bellator comes in and says, "Hey, we want to put you in a tournament"? Would you consider going there? Because I know with their contract situation, it's kind of like you're locked in for a very, very long time. So if you were to sign there to get out, it would be a pretty long time. So is it UFC or bust for you, or are you open to going somewhere else for a long-term deal?
Man, I'm open to anybody that wants my services and is willing to compensate me fairly for them. But I really feel like I'm more drawn to the UFC. I guess maybe it's my time in the WEC that I spent there. You know, it was like the same crew working there. You know, all the fights that I've gone with my brother and the time that we spent there. It's like I just feel like going there I'm really comfortable, and I know the people there, and it feels right, and I feel like that's where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it may sound kind of weird, but I'm just comfortable there. I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you're a pro wrestling fan. Your last fight after you beat Tyler Combs, you had CM Punk tweeting at you, congratulating you. How cool was that to have him take notice?
Somebody told me, and I had to contain myself for a little bit. I went and read it, and I just kind of laughed, like I couldn't believe it. It was, I thought it was really cool. Because I'm a huge fan of CM Punk, and I like what he's doing and everything in wrestling. So to see that, to get it's like basically getting a text message from the guy. Like I thought that was really cool, and I think it's cool, especially just because he really appreciates the sport and martial arts and everything. So it was definitely really, really cool to get that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you met him at the last time your brother fought in the UFC, right? You got to meet him?
Yeah. I got to meet him. Because we found out that, I think they just had Mania, and he had done that match, and I think he'd hurt his knee, and I don't know if he had been written off yet or not, but we were watching the broadcast of Cole's fight, or the UFC, to see if they were going to show Cole's fight on the main broadcast,
right.
And they showed CM Punk in the crowd, and I was like, Cole, you have to use whatever celebrity you have right now to get us like a meet and greet with this guy. Like,
right.
Do it for me. Do it for me. I've been here for a week with you, holding pads and getting your food and doing everything. I was like,
Yeah, now he's a pretty big fan of MMA. Did he know who you guys were right when he met you, or did you just, introduce yourself, hey, I'm Micah Miller, I fight, but did he know you, or did you have to kind of fill him in?
Nah, I think, he'd recognize Cole because he saw him fight, but right. I'm not sure, like, how much he recognized us, but hey, that guy sees a million faces and
right.
meets a million people every day, so you can't hold it against him if he doesn't. I was just thrilled that he took the time to, say what's up and get us a picture. So
right. Well, cool. He knows you now, so that's all that counts.
Yeah.
Now, Micah, the long hair. Originally, I think when you grew it out, the plan was to keep the hair long until you got into the UFC. Is that still the case? Are you still going to keep the hair long and then cut it when you make it to the UFC, or have you grown sort of attached to it, and if you do make it in the UFC, you're just going to keep it from here on out?
No, I don't know where that really came from. I feel like my brother said that one time, like,
yeah, I think so.
Joking or something. I don't know, but the long hair. I just started growing it out, and it just was like, I haven't been this long before, so I'm probably gonna keep it around because it's never been this long, so let's just keep it growing for a little bit. And then that just kept going, and then eventually it was long, and eventually like girls started calling, and I was like, man, I should probably keep this.
Yeah. That's pretty good stuff. Micah, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
I want to thank American Top Team. These guys provide a lot more than training. I got so many friends and coaches and training partners that are really instrumental in progressing my game and supporting me. So thanks to them. My strength and conditioning team at IHP. I want to thank my other sponsor, Booty Bobblers, for helping me out with anytime I need anything for training, be it taking care of training partners, flying them in, gear, supplements. These guys help me out. And, I want to thank my dad for, he really helps me a lot. He's a big motivator, and he keeps me going doing this. And I guess anybody that comes up and says they're a fan, and they really are, for my real fans out there, I appreciate them, guys that tweet me and have good things to say. I read all that stuff, so I appreciate that.
Micah, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck this Saturday night at Hoosier Fight Club 15 against Josh Shockley.
Thanks, Mike.